doing our feedback episode, Ty. Now we are into the swing of things, right?
Yeah. Again, live on Instagram. So anyone joining us there,
Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. You get the inside scoop before we drop this one Saturday.
Yeah. If we get it edited. Yeah.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2021.
Yep. Our first recording.
Yeah.
We dropped our episode on Christmas, which I thought was like, I didn't really think about that when we scheduled it, but I don't know how that landed with people. Actually, I was looking at it today. It seems like more people are watching in the new year than
people actually didn't watch too much on the holidays. Everyone kind of just took a break from serious stuff.
We were debating that before the holidays if we were going to get some more viewership or less viewership during the holidays.
Kind of dipped, but people are doing stuff,
but it looks like there's people catching up on all the stuff they missed, which is like that's good. So
So today we're going to be going over we'll talk mental health. Just review the one with Rhonda, talk about some feedback maybe, and then also the one we did with Mike Hutton as well, going back a ways.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. I think we'll dig through Rhonda's first. And
I thought it went well, honestly. It was, I think it was well received. Got some good feedback on that.
I wasn't sure going into it. I know you did the outline on that one more than I did.
Yeah.
For people who aren't aware of our process, but
see how the sausage
a lot of times we work together, but a lot of times when we do our outlines for our guests, one of us will throw it together who really has it in their head or really excited about it, and then the other guy kind of proofs it, and then we collab on like trying to figure out exactly what we want to say. But I was that guy, so I just I wasn't as into it, and then when the conversation started, I was like, wow, this is like a treasure trove here.
Classic Tyler just into the microphone.
Wow.
But so what did you think of the episode?
No, interesting. That was my one on this episode. So
you changed.
We should do that every episode. We should ask people what the word of the day was.
Yeah, it used to be. What was our phrase again?
You know, and like and then I did wow for a bit, and then we did interesting. Both of us on that podcast. So maybe we'll just start picking a word. And
it's always a crutch word or two. But anyways,
let's dive into Rhonda. So she was great. I think she was a little nervous coming on.
Yeah, but I think so.
I mean, like she did really good. She didn't look nervous when she was here, so I don't know. She said she was nervous, but
she has the authority to speak on the issue, and I'm sure she might. I'm pretty sure she'll listen to this feedback, so we should definitely speak kindly of her. But in all seriousness, it was
awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Really easy to talk to her too. So, which is good because she's a counselor. So let's just like dig into it. You want me to go first? I got a whole bunch of stuff written down that I thought was like really cool that we pulled out. We caught her off guard right at the beginning, I think, talking about emotions, but like she had been thinking a little bit about it, and we kind of like drilled down on it way too hard. She wasn't really ready for it. But I thought that whole discussion about letting your emotions govern your life as like the facts for how you view the world is like it's a pretty common thing of how we kind of think now, and like how the culture is telling us to think. Yeah. I thought that was interesting, like combating that kind of, like combating the mentality that like how you feel is who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And then like she said, so you should, we need to interact with our emotions, obviously. What is the word she used?
Be in touch, I think she said.
Yeah. I forget. There was a good word she used, but go back and listen to it. So basically, like it was you have to like connect to your emotions, but not like let them like
overrun you.
Yeah, and then like like explain to you how the world is supposed to be viewed or whatever. Right?
They're a tool to kind of inform you, and you should not ignore them. Yeah. But they're also not the end all be all.
Yeah, which I think is like, I mean, we'll probably get into this a little bit more later, but like we were talking about social media right before we came on this. That's like the social media thing is like you just let your emotions get away from you a lot of times, and whether it be anger at like someone's comment or whether it be like joy because of someone's liking all your pictures and whatever.
It can manipulate your emotions.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then like if you just like let that take you, then it spirals pretty quick, I think. So
I thought you did a good job breaking down the Christian versus biblical counseling as well. That was interesting. That was something new for us, I think. Definitely.
Yeah, like I just came across that like when we were doing our outline. So
yeah. So I think she made her, obviously, she's in favor of biblical, so that her case went in favor of biblical, and she laid out a good case for that too. But it would be interesting to hear from someone who's more in favor of Christian counseling.
Some of the feedback that I heard was people had heard of biblical counseling and it wasn't all positive. But I've been kind of like thinking it through in the different ways to look at it, and it seems to me that like she said too, like it's easier to get into Christian counseling, but Christian counseling seems to be more like counseling. Like it was like, you're going to get into the field and you want to be a counselor. You go into it as into kind of secular education kind of stream to get into counseling. Yeah. And then when you're in counseling, because you're a Christian, then you're like, okay, now I'm going to be like, put it on counselor and I'm a Christian. So it's like a counselor, Christian counselor, right? Yeah. So to me, that was like, you're kind of using the same tactics and in the same ways to like treat people as a secular counselor would, but then you're also explaining to people like, you know, this is kind of why I want you to do this certain way of treatment, or why we're kind of working through your emotions like this or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But biblical counseling seemed to me a little bit more, it was like, it wasn't like it was like less official counseling, I guess, but it was a little bit more like also like bringing Bible into it. So like it was like a Bible study and like digging into how you feel and how, you know,
seems like
your history and all that.
Yeah. It's again, from the way Rhonda described it, it seems like the optimal way, because you're digging down and getting into the spiritual root, which is often a lot of the problem lies in there. Yeah. Perhaps like just in our own sin for sure. And then also like, I didn't get the sense that they're not opposed to using psychology or to use, you know, like medicine for sure, and whatnot. Yeah. But that's not their first go-to. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a fair case she presented. Yeah. But I think she said she was a little hard on I was talking to her after, and she did mention that. So, I mean, from our you know, naive new perspective on this whole world, it seemed like a good case. But again, if you know, any listeners out there are like, Christian counseling has been very helpful for me or someone you know or whoever, definitely interested in hearing on it. Yeah, I think there's obviously a spectrum too. Like, right, it's not like it's one Christian counselor to another Christian counselor could be totally different. Because she even mentioned that someone she worked with said that the Christian counselor that he was working with basically said, well, you have to love yourself before you can love other people, and we'll discuss that more later. But yeah, that kind of came through one counselor, where it was like, I'm sure there's other Christian counselors who would have listened to that and they would be like, whoa, we would never say that. Right. So it's like, yeah, it's going to be individuals as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think overall, I think it was a helpful episode. I think hopefully it's just, it's informative at least, and helps people to have conversations about this. And yeah, I really hoped it was like, I felt that it like helped me to understand my mental health better, or like how you evaluate your mental health. Yeah. So that was an interesting thing that you asked, and we were joking that you were need some help, counseling session there. But like that's kind of what, you know, you're always doing every day. It's like, well, okay, or at least certain times in your life, you're like, well, you're kind of evaluating like, how am I doing here, right? Like, is this helping seeing me? Like a symptom here or whatever. Yeah. Like, is this, but the way she described like how it's not totally unhealthy to just say, you know what, I'm good on the surface, and you know, God will bring things to me if they need addressing. I was I didn't like, I'd be more like a counselor. I would have thought a counselor would like encourage people to be like, now dig into your emotions and dig into your past and uproot things that, you know, you've buried. And because that's what I think, like, that's, to me, I think is like how you go about solving the problems in counseling. Mm-hmm. So I thought like a counselor would encourage people to just do that on their own, but she didn't really. And I was like, well, she was saying that more if you feel like you're in good mental health, like, you know, don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, as they say. Like that was, but it wasn't like a sweep out under the rug kind of thing. No, necessarily. No. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's strike a balance there, which is pretty hard thing to kind of. The one thing I think we didn't get into, but Rhonda also said she wasn't as qualified to talk on, was anxiety and depression, and kind of getting into those more specifically. So if any listeners want us to cover those topics more, let us know. It could be really helpful to dive into those. Yeah. And suicide, we didn't get into that really either. No, there's definitely some specific, you know, symptoms and applications. Yeah. So, was there anything else? I got a couple other notes. I think we kind of covered it. Really, we don't need to. Yeah, it beat the nail video. That was funny. The men and women differences was good difference. Too. Yeah. So, I mean, we just like compartmentalize stuff. Yeah. That was interesting. I think like
I think people
are aware of that, though.
Yeah, I heard from a few people that they just enjoyed hearing people chat about it because it was like,
yeah, it's funny.
Something that people know, but yeah. So yeah, I think, yeah, we can probably just move into what
we talked about with Mike and stuff. We covered quite the gauntlet when we talked with Mike. Let's see, I had to write it down just so I made sure I got it all here. But we covered neo-Marxism, Marxism itself, critical race theory, postmodernism, identity politics. We talked about the different psychological perspectives between liberal people and conservative people. We talked about socialism and capitalism. That's kind of an overview.
The American dream.
And the American dream and Tyler's BS argument on the American dream.
I have now backpedaled on that.
He's backpedaled hard. And I've been going after him after the podcast and at work.
We'll address that.
This argument carried over the Christmas break, so it was good. Anyways, we've settled that now. But
it was good.
I had a lot of fun. I think we got some good feedback on it, honestly. But also, people did say it was. It's long.
It was long. I heard that I heard it was jumbled, which I thought when I listened to it back, I was like, yeah, no, fair enough. I think we tried to the whole goal was kind of like hit everything kind of surface level. It was then we'll deep dive into everything later.
It's kind of TMI though. It's like just too much information.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I do think that if people haven't listened to them yet, the beginning of the second one where we talk about liberal conservative was probably that was a more deep dive into that one issue. And that
was probably about 20, 25 minutes just on that topic. Yeah, and we should probably clip that out and drop it on YouTube or social media.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Because that's pretty fundamental. I think, we're both, when we became aware of that was before starting the podcast. Yeah. I think for both of us, that was pretty...
it changed the way we changed the way we view a lot of things, and also how the respect that we have for everybody, because and I think it directly impacts us how we act here, because it's like we can be very gracious to anybody because not everyone's coming from the same thing. Everyone's got different personalities, and that doesn't it shapes the way they think about things, and that's not wrong. It's like, they can have wrong thoughts, but the way they approach everything's not wrong, right? So,
you can definitely, your psychology can lead you to incorrect conclusions.
Yeah,
which is if I disagree with your opinion,
But that's not one side or the other. That's always the argument. Right? It was
right.
A liberal person seems to look at a conservative person and say, well, we'll get way back into this, but
we don't have to re-explain the whole thing. Check it out. It's at the beginning of the second part if anyone's interested. Mm-hmm. But I think that was it allows you, if you look at it that way, in terms of this person has a certain psychological makeup, certain facts stand out to them first, and that's why they gravitate toward their typical natural opinions. You can at least appreciate that and be curious and just kind of work that chain of logic back and be like, oh, well, so why do you think the way you do? We're definitely not perfect at it, and we've definitely maybe from time to time not given guests as fair of a shot as they should have, or could have been more harder on other guests or something like that. We're always trying to strike that balance and trying to become better podcasters. And
that's why that whole discussion and how we view that makes us able to take the other side, because maybe, we will sit somewhere in that personality, liberal, conservative kind of spectrum, but we can take the other view because we know that every point along there is important to engage with. So
and it's also depending on the topic, but if we're more knowledgeable on a given topic, then typically we would have looked at the other side and considered their opinion, because I think that's how you make a stronger case. Because if you know your opponent's best arguments and you still hold your current opinion, that's going to be a pretty strong case you can make.
Yeah, which is we're getting all over, but I think that touches on something like people say they doubt their faith, or they doubt the truth behind something. Yeah, that to me is that means to me that maybe you just steel-manned someone's argument better than your mind could handle. It was so if you find yourself believing evolution, but you in the back of your head, you're I know I shouldn't really believe this, but I can't refute this because maybe they looked into the science behind it and they never looked into the science that a Christian would look at. So it's you steel man the two guys. So
yeah, no, that could be the case for sure. I think,
which is good. It's like you should try to get your, like, if you think you're on one side of an issue, try to make your opponent's issue a strong argument as you can, so that you can, buttress your argument.
Yeah, like especially for faith matters too. Like know what atheists think, or like know what the good arguments are, at least, because that's also going to help you. I think it'll strengthen your faith if you can overcome them, and then B, I think it will help you in your conversations with people who don't share your faith. Yeah, you'll be able to understand them. I'm using letters a lot in this sentence, and B, you'll have a better argument too. So yeah, there's a lot of A's and B's in there.
Well, that's gonna tie back into that episode that we got planned for our interaction with the students at Guido, because that was like, it's a bit of apologetics and philosophy and stuff like that, and I think figuring out what the arguments opposing Christianity and your faith are really is what like apologetics is all about.
Segue of the year so far, right there. First spot.
That's good though. So
upcoming stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, so we should just talk about this episode we did with Mike. I think overall, people liked it generally, but it'd be better if we kind of laser focused in on one of these topics.
Yeah, I think that was our intention anyways.
Yeah, we kind of it was a bit of a self-indulgence to do that episode, perhaps.
You saw by the table of food
spread we had. Yeah, it was freewheeling fun.
But you know what? I felt like there was words in there that people hadn't heard before, and they were like, well, okay, well, I don't even know what to do with this. And so we were pretty down the rabbit hole on a few things.
Yeah, more thanks to Mike than us, perhaps, but that was,
Yeah, but I mean, we also researched a lot because we were trying to reach Mike's level of intelligence. So we were throwing words around that, Yeah. I mean, there were things like cultural hegemony. I learned what that was when you were explaining it.
Yeah.
So like things like that, like I wasn't even prepared for that part of it. So you can't really expect everyone to be all on board with it. So but we'll. I think the intention is to dig a little deeper into certain issues, whether it be like critical race theory or just racism in general, and how we view that, the definitions, and how that's changing in our world. And then we can do feminism and masculinity.
I'm having a tough time with that, but and also doing that deep dive will allow us to properly consider other points of view on this, but especially amongst Christians too, different views. Like we spent a lot of time talking about critical race theory and Marxism, especially, and the failures of Marxism and why it's not compatible.
Just like attacking
with Christianity,
the worldviews out there,
right? Because we kind of came to this episode where we're like, all right, we got all this information on all these what we view as typically bad ideas or even terrible ideas, ideas that are antithetical to the faith. And so we kind of came in from that vantage point and that slant. So we came in heavy on those ideas, but it's not to say ideas, it's not to say the status quo is perfect and there aren't problems. Like there certainly are.
Yeah, for sure.
There are injustices, there are inequities for sure. And it's worth looking at those too. So I think if we do a drill down into specific ones, like say if you did a socialism and capitalism episode, you can get into those terms, why maybe the term capitalism actually isn't even a great term. And actually, I saw this the other day. The term capitalism was actually a label applied to free market economics by Marxists. It's just used to be called like free enterprise or free markets.
Oh, interesting.
So because they needed another ism to put out the other isms. Again, there are problems with capitalism for sure. We can get into that.
Yeah, that plays a bit into the feedback that we got on that too. I think, we obviously came heavy-handed to that because we came with the issues in the back of our head, and pretty much we researched, what are the issues, how should we approach them as Christians, and then how are they going to wreck our society? And then that was like the backdrop for all this discussion. So we didn't always come at, which is totally fair. We didn't come at the discussion very compassionately, like especially with like racism and stuff like that, because we were just addressing the ideological argument, and we never really like drilled down into practical applications or into like how that actually manifests in people's lives.
Yeah, that's
so fair. It was a bit it might have come across a little heavy-handed or a little bit uncompassionate.
It was a bit of an ideas dump, definitely.
So we definitely recognize that because we got a bit of feedback on that, and like it wasn't the feedback was like we should go with CRT. Like obviously there was problems with critical race theories and stuff like that. But so I think if we do a deeper dive, we'll be able to help ourselves a little bit more in that way, right? And come at it like and view each issue from many possible standpoints instead of just like the overarching like how do Christians kill this in our society?
Right. Yeah. Or even, exactly. Just doing that deeper dive and trying to consider the different points of view. And one of our listeners sent us some really awesome feedback. Honestly, it was nice and thorough. And this listener took the time to write up a decent sized email.
A lot of our listeners do that.
That's actually true.
Like long emails.
It's not even like we don't get like tons and tons of feedback, but the feedback we do get is like it's quality stuff, and,
which is great.
We appreciate it's. Like honestly, so far it's all been really good. Like people, we sometimes run our mouths in this podcast, and maybe we say stuff, and it would be easy enough to take us out of context, or mishear something because you're not in the room with us and whatnot, or we just say something stupid too. That's completely possible.
Well, I did that with the American Dream.
Yes, definitely. So, anyways, all I want to say on that is just thanks for the great engagement, and every time you do that, we're hoping to inform and inspire you to further conversation, and when you engage with us,
even just that a little thing,
us, and inspires us to be better. So.
Yeah, but like when people explain to us how we kind of had a blind spot in the way we approach something, that just totally like that whole email I read and I reread and then I reread it, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to approach every conversation from here on out like totally different. It's going to be like I'm going to be more conscious of that. So every time we get an email like that, it's like, especially if it's like geared to the way we approach stuff or, how we have our attitudes on the podcast, I'm like, totally great. So our Instagram live still going?
Still going, yep. I just wanted to check it for a quick second, just make sure any questions weren't sitting in the queue, but people are just popping in saying hello.
That's cool. As far as these feedback episodes, we've been like throwing around different formats and stuff like that. So let us know what you think about these things, and we might start tackling a few things here and there. We are planning to have Mike back on. I think Mike was great. Everyone really enjoyed it, I think.
Yep. I think he was awesome. So we'll probably to pick a topic basically.
You got to go back and listen to his podcast because he had a couple more great ones. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did listen to a few when I was going for a run. I was listening to him.
Yeah.
Very motivating.
Yeah.
Great voice to listen to. Like, Mike's cheering me on. I can't stop.
That's right. But I think, for these drill down episodes, like cultural things, I think we'll still probably try and make them bonus episodes so they won't interfere with our regular episodes. But
even if something like a current event pops up, like, I mean, I don't think we'll do one on it because it's more of a U.S. thing, but like the crazy stuff that went down in the Capitol.
That was yesterday. So we're recording this on Wednesday. Thursday. So that was Wednesday.
So like you could jump off from that point and talk about any sort of, you could talk about social media, knows what's
behind that,
radicalization and right wing and left wing and all that stuff. Like there's tons to talk about there. So that would be a good example. Anyways, we've probably gone on long enough though, dude. It's been at least 20 minutes, probably more like 25.
Yeah. I mean,
that's basically it. We got a couple more cool episodes in the pipeline. We're going to be using a bunch of the feedback we got from kids at Guido. So if you're a student listening to this and we talked to you and you gave us some good questions, we did the one class, we did like a breakout session with them and came up with a bunch of topics that they use for Thursday Thrillers, which also make for good questions on the podcast.
Even though it was a couple months ago, we haven't forgot about it.
Nope. It's in our back pocket and we got a guest potentially lined up. So we got a couple cool ones coming up.
Yep.
I can't give them all away right now just because
we'll just ruin the surprise.
Yeah, we got to confirm them. But
yeah, exactly.
There's some fun stuff coming down the line. So stay tuned for that, folks.
And if you want to hear anything else, even completely different from what we've been talking about,
our email is always open. Yep. All right. Well, if you made it this far, thank you very much for listening. And we'll catch you next time. Keep having real talk.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk. You can send us your feedback by emailing us at reformedrealtalk@gmail.com. You can find us on social media by looking for the handle Reformed Real Talk. You can find us online by going to realtalkpodcast.ca. We look forward to your feedback as that's what helps us grow and improve as podcasters. Real Talk is produced by myself, Lucas Holfluer, Tyler Vanderwood, and Tim Van Woudenberg. The theme music was created by Calvin Hutton. The table and cabinet behind me were made by Ethan Vanderwood of Eureka Woods. And finally, this sign in the studio was made by Zebra Signs. That's it for now, folks. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.